Hey guys, welcome to Comic Book Wednesdays here on Sonic Fable. I am Sonic Fable, and yeah, welcome. As you can see, we only have one comic today, Age of Ultron Book 10, but you know, it's got this nice packaging with it, which I'll explain a little bit. We also have a little thing about the Trinity War we should get into as well, so let's look at that first. You see, Justice League versus JLA versus JLD. So, yeah, this kind of looks hectic, but you know, I'm not having any high hopes for it, definitely. As you can see, the epic event that will destroy the world's greatest heroes. Maybe in the coming months, but here's all the comics you need to get if it focuses. Alright, I don't have the Trinity of Pandora, but I already know I'm getting all the basic parts. Not the tie-ins, though. I'm not a big fan of tie-ins, as you could clearly see. With the Age of Ultron, I really wanted to get tie-ins, but for some reason I just never did because I wasn't interested because they're about other things that go on. I want to know what's going on exactly. Well, speaking of Age of Ultron, why don't we look at that? Why don't we look what's inside this weird packaging? As you can see, it is the regular cover, but apparently it's like, I can't remember which issue it was, but I remember it was like a Spider-Man comic. They had this special packaging for it, and they wouldn't let you see it because they might have signatures or like special prizes inside from like different representatives of Marvel. Like Stan Lee could have signed it, which would be really awesome, but you know, we're not really sure what's inside this one, so why don't we take a look? As you can clearly see, there's an ad for an Iron Man thing, but that's all we can see. We can't tell if it's like the actual thing. I'm gonna need to open this, so I'm gonna put you right here. Yep, here's the fun part, trying to open in the bag. Oh, and, you know, there's a little slot back here to open it. Same with over here, but it's kind of weird. This packaging is really weird, I'll tell you that, guys. Definitely, be careful when opening this, because, this is the weirdest packaging I've ever seen, I'll tell you that. Like, there was a cut already open, but then there was, like, I don't know what's up with this. What? What? Okay, I guess you cut the bottom or something. You can cut the bottom this way, too. Okay. I might want to cut the top. I see a little cover up I can put on my door or something. Put on the walls. Alright, so it's open now. I can't tell what the cover is, though. I can't tell what it is because I put it over it. I want to see this for you guys myself, so. Did we get anything special? Not that I can see. Oh man, what a waste of a reveal. But yeah, definitely this is the book of the week, only because there are nothing else this week. I'm being completely honest with you guys. There's nothing really else coming out this week. Sure, there may have been because there's a prelude to Infinity, but again, it's like the Trinity War or with Age of Ultron. I don't pick up tie-ins. I only pick up the actual thing. Except, I think the only time I'm actually picking up is Thanos Rising, but that's because I'm interested in the Thanos story. That's all. Nothing else because of that. But still, I'm not gonna pick up anything else, really. That's a tie-in. Sorry, guys. But, you know, this should be good. This should be a good conclusion, but of course we have a couple other comics about Age of Ultron coming out in the next couple of weeks, talking about what's going to happen in the Marvel Universe, which doesn't make any sense because the Marvel Universe should technically be screwed up already, but I can't tell from this. We also have to figure out, like, scratch my eyeball for a second. Ah, man, I'm funny. Not really. You guys can't even see my face, which is sad that you guys can't, but whatever. I'm looking forward to see how this book concludes, but again, with all the extra stuff, you know, I want to see how that goes because Avengers AI is supposed to be coming out, which should be interesting, but we have to see how that technically works because of all this stuff. It's going to be kind of revealed in the Age of Ultron UC or AC or whatever the other two books are called, because there's that Hunger book that's supposed to come out and all this other stuff. So, let's see how that works, and then, yeah, well, I'll tell you about how good the book. Alright, guys, we are back, and let's talk about this guy. Now, let me tell you this. This book is probably one of the best in the whole series of the Age of Ultron, definitely. I don't think it was the best, but it definitely wasn't just good. It was really good. I was very optimistic about it. I'll tell you that. It probably made it into the top 3. Maybe it was the second best, because I think the number 1 issue is still the greatest. Personally, that's just me. But that's just me, of course. Of course, this issue does not go without its faults. It had a couple of little issues in there that I was kind of like, but it definitely had a lot of those great moments in there. You kind of just think of the time continuum definitely is going to be affected by this, not just Ultron. I'm going to tell you this is the first time you actually see Ultron in the book. Age of Ultron, and Ultron's never seen in the book. What a weird coincidence. However, I will tell you, this does begin the expansion of explaining the other series that are coming out, like Hunger and Avengers AI. There's also a tie-in coming up with Guardians of the Galaxy that comes up with Age of Ultron because of the event that happened at the end of the book. So you're expecting a lot from Marvel to be good now, which we can expect. And of course, there's another issue coming out next week that's going to explain more about the Age of Ultron, which is going to be and then there's another issue coming after that, and then Avengers AI is coming out. It's like, oh my gosh, just, oh my god, calm down, Marvel, we get it. But this is a good book. Definitely I pick it up for the week. If you love the Age of Ultron, if you've stopped reading it, I wouldn't recommend picking it up, but if you thought it was okay, definitely I recommend picking this up because you'll be satisfied with the ending. I was pretty good with the ending. I thought it was pretty closure. That's what I thought it was. It was just closure enough for me. I felt that I was able to understand that all the issues coming up would be concluded. Well, like most of them. Some of them, you don't really get that conclusion because they just throw that away in the timelines. With that being said, at least we won't have to deal with Ultron anymore, I think. But there is a kind of a conflicting thing at the end, which is kind of a spoilerish. It does involve Wolverine and Sue Storm, because, in the last issue, of course, they traveled back into the past, and they stopped Hank Pym, well, they convinced Hank Pym to kind of stop, but he still built Ultron anyway, and he made a virus that would subtract into him, which we all knew was kind of what was going to happen in this book with Ultron, because we see him in the book, and something that happens, but definitely, you can see that. But yeah, definitely the book of the week. Well, let's talk about next week's books, okay? Because next week, definitely, we have a ton of books. Okay, so let's start on the Marvel side because it's a little slower. We have, well, you never know because these books might actually be number 1. Well, one of them might be. The other one I'm not really expecting much. And the one I'm not expecting much from is the Age of Ultron number 10 AI version, which should just be a little bit more explanation about number 10, which should be fine because you didn't need any more explanation after number 10. But the other book from Marvel coming out next week is Nova number 5, and I absolutely love Nova. The series so far is going great. The conclusion to the prelude story should be next week, I think, or they might do another issue after that, who really knows. But DC is where it's at next week. DC, starting off with the lowest book I'm expecting from DC is The Green Team number 5. Again, I'm only picking this up because Art Baltazar is working on it, and yeah, he is fantastic of a writer and an artist. Unfortunately, he's not doing the art for this, but Green Team number 1, I thought it was pretty good for what it was, but it could have been better. I'll admit that. The artwork, was cool, but they really didn't show off these kids being superheroes. They just showed them off being rich kids. That's all. Next one after that is JLA number 5. This is the conclusion to this opening arc for the JLA. with the ending with, Catwoman being shot. Spoiler alert if you haven't read the 4th issue, but, Catwoman got shot in the head, and now they're doing a funeral. We all know Catwoman's alive. They can't discontinue the Catwoman series. That'd be kind of sucky for Batman, but, because they have this whole thing. Okay, don't discontinue it. I don't even like Catwoman that much of the series, but they're not going to discontinue it. It actually sells. Plus the fact that Catwoman probably not dead. They probably did something, but Next after that, Injustice Gods Among Us #6. We got to see what happens to Damian in the book. Even though we already know in the game he becomes the new Nightwing, we need to see how Dick dies, because we already know that Nightwing is going to die, and then that Damian is going to become the new Nightwing. Which is, we already know is pretty weird. Saying, like, this parallel universe is really weird, because in the regular DC universe, Damian's already dead. It's very weird and very contradicting to what we're trying to say. But, it's a video game, comic book storyline. What can you say? And finally, the biggest book for next week, in my opinion, Batman Superman #1. We're finally going to get the team up of Batman and Superman back. We've been expecting this for a long time. Finally, DC is bringing it to us, along with the fact that Superman Unchained came out last week. It's going to be good. I'm expecting it to be pretty good. I'm not expecting it to be, like, superb. I'm just expecting it to be the best of the week, honestly. Definitely, it looks like it's going to be that way from what I've seen of it, but I haven't really seen much of it. That's how you know it's going to be good. If you haven't seen much of it and you already think it's going to be really good, that's how you know things are going to be great. But that's next week. This week, we didn't have much. Age of Ultron, that's all we did. Pick this up. If it's my recommendation for the week. I really don't have any other recommendations for the week because there wasn't really anything out this week. Other than the fact that I tell you, get ready for Trinity War, because that's going to be coming out definitely in the next couple of weeks. And it's going to get kind of gruesome, I'll tell you that for sure. But that being said, that's the end of this Comic Book Wednesdays. Thank you for watching. Please write below what I should have picked up instead, because I know you guys would have been like, oh, you should have picked this up instead. I know my friends over at MCMG Videos will recommend me some comics. Speaking of which, go over to their channel. I did another podcast with them. I'm like their favorite guest or something. It's like they don't have any friends or anything, huh? Oh, man. Tom, you need some friends, I'll tell you that for sure, because I'm pretty sure Rob's not going to be along for long. Rob isn't going to be along for long. Sorry, Tom. I'm not going to be your friend anymore. I'm just kidding. I love you, Tom. But, definitely go check them out. They're definitely a great group. The podcasts are definitely a lot of fun. This week we actually talked about more of how we pick up the comics, what we make our decisions on, and also some other, like, the Marvel movies stuff. And a couple of other things. I can't remember off the top of my head. But definitely go check it out. It was pretty fun. It's always fun doing it with them. Probably going to be on in a couple other weeks. I'm trying to keep this other weekly podcast thing. I'm probably not going to be on every week because I have a life. Sorry, Tom, but I have a life. I can't just dedicate myself to podcasts. But with that being said, definitely go check them out, like I said, for like the 7th time. Because they're definitely good. They make quality stuff, I'll admit that. But, again, this is the end for this Comic Book Wednesday. Next week will be a lot better, I'll tell you that for sure, because we will actually have more than one comic. We'll have a ton. We'll have 6. We'll have 6. You know what? This summer is definitely going to be a lot. I'm already looking at my list right now. Oh my gosh, are we in for a ton of comics this summer? Because I'll actually have money. Yay! But with that being said, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week.